Kia ora, ko Paul Tokawingawa. This is my topic for the video presentation. This is my stance that restorative justice, or RJ programs, have promised a more effective and humane alternative to traditional punitive measures, raising their popularity and prevalence. However, I contend that RJ is not an effective intervention at reducing recidivism, despite improving other relevant outcomes for both offenders and victims. Starting with the definition, RJ is a process whereby all the parties with a stake in a particular offence come together to resolve collectively how to deal with the aftermath of the offence and its implications for the future. Its goal is to repair broken relationships and reintegrate clients into their communities. I use this meta-analysis by Fulham et al. Because it's recent and had many sources that I cited. Their findings were: 1. Studies found RJ to be effective at reducing recidivism had poor methodological design. Secondly, they found a questionable link between RJ and principles of the risk needs responsivity model. And finally, previous meta-analyses of RJ as an effective alternative are limited in their validity. They're either a tendency to be too narrow in their definition of RJ, highlighted by Bradshaw, or too broad, collapsing across different RJ programs without considering program differences as potential moderators, as highlighted by Latimer et al. So why is RJ not an effective alternative? Well, in their meta-analysis, Fulham et al. Found despite proliferation of RJ programs, studies that claim RJ as an effective alternative in reducing recidivism are poor methodologically. Specifically, only demonstrated significant reductions in general recidivism when the study quality was rated as poor using the CODC guidelines versus studies that were rated as weak or good that found no significant effect on general recidivism. This was a result of lack of random sampling, study or program moderators that led to research bias. You can see from the table on the right, the number of studies that Fulham et al. Had were 28, 7 were rejected, 15 were weak, and 6 were good. Of one of the rejected ones, an example was a meta-analysis by Chaplin et al. That identified as poor, found offenders who participated in RJ committed statistically significant fewer offences than those in the control group. The questionable link between RJ and RNR. RJ programs are designed to place less emphasis on rehabilitation for offending populations and more victims, which is often needed among higher risk groups. Individuals at higher risk may not then match the intensity of an RJ program, therefore the risk principle of RNR is not met. Furthermore, purist programs have greater reliance to RJ principles, and this is key for optimizing their program outcomes. These programs are less beneficial at reducing recidivism. In contrary to this, despite the questionable link between RJ and RNR, proponents for RNR support the effectiveness of these programs in reducing recidivism in both juvenile and adult clients. So if RJ is not effective, are traditional punitive measures effective? Well, in a seminal article by Lipsey and Cullen, they found rehab measures to be more efficient than punitive programs. They found the best performing punitive program was not nearly as efficient as the least efficient rehab intervention, and the least efficient punitive programs increase the rate of recidivism. Therefore, punitive programs that focus on deterrence can cause harm, as highlighted by Andras. But what part does RJ play in rehabilitation? Well, it plays an integral part. Rehabilitation generally involves education, counselling, skills training, mediation, and community involvement. These last two are specific to the RJ process. And specifically, RJ establishes a sense of accountability on the client while reducing stigma and reliance on punitive measures. This has led to an increase in RJ programs, which is manifested in a threefold increase in US state laws related to its use, and in use in schools, both here and in the US. This movement towards RJ programs has been despite lack of empirical evidence. Kimbrell et al. State that this is due to the fact that RJ does not have definitional boundaries, making it hard to limit its essence to that of a particular program, practice, philosophy, or outcome. Furthermore, RJ may be more effective alternative in juvenile populations. Juvenile RJ programs and practices are associated with a small to moderate and statistically significant reduction in future delinquent behaviour, as noted by Kimbrell et al. However, much like Fulham et al., they noted as well that results were smaller and non-significant for more rigorous random assignment studies, raising concerns about the robustness of this finding. However, in a study by Flora et al., which was not subject to scrutiny by Fulham et al. Or Kimbrell et al., they found positive results for RJ, reducing recidivism in juvenile populations through addressing root causes of delinquency and providing the victim and offender a chance to heal. So therefore, getting in early may help. So in summary, most research into RJ suggests, despite its merits, it has little impact on recidivism. Inconsistency in methodology and fidelity of studies finding RJ as an effective alternative require caution. And however, though, there is a place for alternative means of punishment than punitive measures in the form of rehabilitation, which RJ plays an integral part of. RJ may be more effective than traditional measures in juvenile populations as well, according to a recent study. So there are positive outcomes for RJ. It's focused on victims and communities. However, this is at the expense of the application of the RNR model and offenders' needs in reducing recidivism. Ngā mihi, thank you.